Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobby Capucci, and this is Daily Drop number 33. All right, we're not going to waste any time tonight with any long monologues or me running my yap too much. We're going to jump right into the articles. So the first one is from the Washington Examiner, and the headline is, "The Media Protected Jeffrey Epstein and Crucified Brett Kavanaugh." Is it any wonder the American public distrusts the media? This week, Project Veritas released a video featuring ABC News anchor Amy Robach on set speaking in August with a running camera and a hot mic. In her conversation with others off camera, apparently during a setup or commercial break, Robach noted with some frustration that she had the story about the allegations against Jeffrey Epstein all to herself 3 years ago and with about as much detail as anyone could expect. But her network, she added, inexplicably refused to air it. I wonder why. "I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air," Robach said. "First of all, I was told, who is Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story." Whoever told her that in 2015 needs to be fired. Who is Jeffrey Epstein? Just a guy that pals around with presidents, ex-presidents, prime ministers, other bigwigs, princes, royalty, etc., etc., but the powers that be at ABC, also known as the Disney Company, thought it was a good idea to kill the story? I wonder why. Then Buckingham Palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will we were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. So you're so worried that you can't interview some lame-ass prince and princess from a different country that's the reason that you're giving that they killed this story? That's almost as ludicrous as Andrew and his nonsense about flying to America to break up his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, come on, man. "It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything," she continued. "I tried for 3 years to get it on to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it." So, it's obvious that they had all this information before the Miami Herald broke their story. And they sat on it. And still no good reason given. Of course, they're spinning to the best of their ability at this point to try and mitigate the damage, but we all understand what they did. We all understand what these kind of people do. After Project Veritas released the video, Robach walked back their comments and said the undercover journalist caught her in a private moment of frustration. She added that since the Epstein allegations broke, ABC News has continued to aggressively pursue this important story. Yeah, no, they haven't. Not really. They're doing the same thing the rest of the media outlets are doing. They feel like they're obligated to at least give it some attention. So when someone brings up the fact that they're not covering it correctly, they'd say, "Well, look, we have 12 stories on it and we're going to do this." Nope, that's not going to work anymore. Additionally, ABC News has claimed it refused to run Robach's reporting because it did not meet their editorial standards. We've discussed that already. Their editorial standards, but it's good enough to smear Kavanaugh? Good enough to just run around with unsourced statements about the whole Russian fiasco that turned out to be false? Apparently, there wasn't enough corroborating evidence, despite the fact that Robach says in her video that she had multiple witnesses who confirmed her story. Still, ABC News decided that the allegations, despite the corroboration, were just allegations unworthy of airing, and they killed the story that would eventually land Epstein behind bars, triggering his death. So that serves them right, that they didn't get the credit for this story. At the very least, that serves them right, because I have to tell you, these mofos at ABC they got some answering to do. It should be added here that page 6, the New York Post gossip column, had reported on ABC's George Stephanopoulos attending parties at Epstein's townhouse on Manhattan's Upper East Side. This not only gives the lie to the excuse that Epstein was insignificant, but it also offers a motive for top brass at ABC to do what they did. I said this right out of the gate yesterday morning when this all broke. All right, so right out of the gate, I said that in my humble opinion, the reason this was covered up because Stephanopoulos is such a powerful figure within ABC, within their structure, that the last thing they need is for him to be caught up in this madness. ABC News, a news organization, sat on one of the biggest and most consequential stories of the past decade. By the company's explanation, this was for the sake of an editorial standard, a standard that was strangely missing from its coverage of another significant moment in recent U.S. history. ABC News, along with just about every other outlet, gladly ran the allegations of sexual assault against then-Judge Brett Kavanaugh, even though corroborating evidence was non-existent and most of the stories being told were quite clearly lies. In fact, some of the allegations published by ABC were so outlandish that the FBI and the Senate Judiciary Committee didn't even consider them. All right, look. I don't care where you land on the political dial, all right? I don't care if you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, whatever you may be. This is inherently wrong. Kavanaugh obviously was not credibly accused. There's no evidence, he wasn't convicted, there's no witnesses, there's no receipts. Yet you have Jeffrey Epstein, who was not only credibly accused, convicted, and you have this smug, elitist SOB Stephanopoulos still hanging out with this cat, doing Lord knows what. Between September 13th and 24th of last year, ABC News, CBS, and NBC devoted nearly 6 hours to the accusations against Kavanaugh, and only 8% of that coverage included Kavanaugh's denials and lack of evidence behind the accusations. Another thing that I pointed out. Remember I told you guys to go Google the Kavanaugh situation? Yet ABC News couldn't be bothered to give Robach a few minutes to cover credible and substantiated accusations against a pedophile and sex trafficker who had been living it up with the rich and the famous on both sides of the pond. And it's worth pointing out again that one of ABC's considerations in spiking Robach's story was the potential loss of a chance to interview Prince William and Catherine, the Duchess of Cambridge. Thus, the reporting of corroborated facts works so long as it fits the media's agenda. As soon as it doesn't, the mask comes off. Also, maybe Kavanaugh should have been married to a member of the British royal family. Epstein had powerful people on his side who likely bullied ABC into silence. Some of them may have worked for the network. But when Kavanaugh's hearings rolled around, ABC zealously stepped into the role of bully, attempting to destroy the life of a man whose only crime was that he was appointed by President Trump. Most journalists want to do the right thing. Robach, for one, wanted to report out and broadcast Epstein's story, as her angry explanation from August now makes clear. But ABC did not do the right thing, and the network's after-the-fact explanation is not credible. For many, this incident connects the dots between left-wing media bias and distrust of journalists. It helps explain why people increasingly reject the role of the media as wise gatekeepers capable of deciding what is newsworthy. And it explains why so many people cheer when Trump calls the media the enemy of the people, only to turn and sneer when lectured about this behavior by sanctimonious journalists. Look, I don't care about your political affiliations, and we see that they've seen the same. They did the same thing to Bernie Sanders. We're seeing them do it to Tulsi Gabbard, and they'll do it to anybody who is not part of the establishment. So it's not a right or left thing. It's just an elitist thing. These people are just incredibly sick. I don't even know what to say. All right, so our second article is from the Daily Caller, and it's about, the headline is, Katie Pavlich ties ABC's ESPN cover-up to Clinton's Stephanopoulos. Fox News contributor Katie Pavlich drew a straight line from ABC's alleged quashing of a bombshell Jeffrey Epstein story to the network's news anchor with ties to the Clintons. Pavlich, who appeared Wednesday on Tucker Carlson Tonight, suggested that ABC's reluctance to cover the story that tied former President Bill Clinton and others to the late convicted pedophile could be summed up in just one name: veteran ABC anchor George Stephanopoulos. Who Wonder who else said that. There's no question executives at ABC protected Jeffrey Epstein, host Tucker Carlson began. Why do you think they did that? Because their star anchor's name is George Stephanopoulos, and of course George Stephanopoulos worked as Bill Clinton's communications director at the White House, Pavlich explained. And when was this information given to Robach at ABC? When did she bring all this to her executives to say we should put this to the air? Right before the 2016 election when Hillary Clinton was running on the Democratic ticket. Boy, that wouldn't have been good, huh? For the narrative? That would have been pretty bad. She went on to add that Stephanopoulos had his own direct connection to Epstein as well, noting that the ABC journalist had attended a dinner party at Epstein's home after Epstein served 13 months for soliciting underage girls. You're saying at the time Amy Robach took the story to her superiors and they said, I don't know who Jeffrey Epstein is. His name was already all over the news as a convicted sex offender, Carlson clarified. This all comes down to the Clintons, George Stephanopoulos working at ABC and the circle of connections they have there, and protecting not just the Clintons, of course, because that is something they are willing to do for political purposes. She continued, according to ABC's editorial standards, which we keep hearing about, the standards are necessarily about accusers bringing forward evidence on someone who had already been convicted of similar crimes, but instead to protect political people and friends who are beneficial to them and who have very, very close connections to people in their network who claim to be leading journalists like George Stephanopoulos. I mean, there's really nothing else for me to add there, right? She's doing a pretty good job of laying out the case. Everything that I was talking about yesterday morning, she's laying out the case right here for you guys. So it's not just me who sees this. I'm glad that I'm not the only one connecting these dots. But it's not just ABC, Carlson added. The reaction has been fascinating in that MSNBC and CNN, both of which have media reporters, have essentially ignored the story. Yeah, they're still not touching it. And that really it boils down to what the essence of this whole entire thing is, right? Why are they not investigating it? Why are they not touching it? Why do they continually choose to just let things like this slide? Why? Why do they push a certain narrative while ignoring other things? Why, especially in the Me Too era, are these girls ignored? Nobody has any logical or good answers for me when I ask these questions. So until I get the answers that I'm looking for, these questions are still going to be asked. And I'm really, really pumped to have all of you guys along for this ride. I mean, it's so crazy to think that these people truly believe that they were going to get away with this. They thought that their buddies in the media were going to squash it. They thought that everybody would be focused on the election. They thought that everybody would be focused on Ukraine and whatever other crazy nonsense the media is pushing out there. But instead what they got was complete pushback, obviously not just by us and our small group here, but just people in general have had enough of this nonsense, and you see it with all the posts on Facebook and social media, the Epstein didn't kill himself memes. There is a groundswell going on right now, and there's no way that they're going to be able to keep this in the shade forever. Not if we keep pushing. Like I used the analogy that we were on a drive in a football game. And, I said we were, still in our own end of the field and been a tough slog, got a couple of first downs. Now the drive's starting to get a little bit of momentum, right? We're starting to make some plays in the trenches. The linemen are pushing the defensive line back a little bit. We're running the ball. We're setting up the screen. And that's basically how we have to look at this kind of stuff because, you have to eat the elephant one bite at a time. And that is what we're doing here on the Daily Drop. We're eating the elephant one bite at a time. All right, we all made it to Wednesday. I hope you guys have a quick Thursday and a quick Friday and you get into that weekend and get to enjoy yourselves with your family. And if you're here in Las Vegas, enjoy the very end of this nice weather. Until tomorrow, I will see you guys then.